Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. All right, we'll take two on this one for both readings that I did yesterday. Okay, so here's what happened. Just a little behind the scenes, if you will. Whenever I set up my laptop to do these readings, I have a Yeti microphone that's just off camera here. I plug it into my laptop, and it usually defaults into a mute setting. So the first thing I typically do is I go to my settings on my laptop, and I go to sound to make sure that I have sound so that I don't record a video with no sound, much less two videos and then post them up to the internet. And yesterday I was actually doing troubleshooting with my microphone just to make sure that, I was getting some feedback that I'm a little bit soft-spoken, and maybe moving the microphone closer would help. So I was playing around with that, and I actually shot a couple of very short videos just to see how the sound quality was with different settings. Okay, so after I had done that, I got ready to do my videos, and as I was moving the microphone around, the connection on the back came off. It's bent. It's a little bit wonky right now. I probably should get a new cord for it. So I plugged it back in, and I think what happened was when I plugged it back in, it went back to the mute setting. So I didn't double check it before I actually started my recording, so I didn't realize I didn't have sound because I had already checked the sound and it was working fine before. Just as an aside, as part of my day-to-day work, I actually do investigations and I do root cause analysis and stuff like that. So a lot of critical thinking skills. And this is the exact type of thing that, it's like you're looking at the puzzle like, how did this get screwed up? I know exactly how it screwed up, and I know why it got screwed up, and I know how to avoid that. Or at least I usually take steps. Mistakes happen. So we will redo the readings. In this case, the first reading I did yesterday and the first reading I'll do today, which is now March 17th, Happy St. Patrick's Day 2023, is on Irvo Otieno. And this is the young man in Virginia who had some mental health issues and was in custody of several deputies and started fighting with them. And 7 deputies and 3 hospital workers basically held this guy down, and he was smothered to death. And it's kind of like George Floyd all over again. And so my original reading was, why is this happening? And actually the first question I have, and I'll ask it again tonight, is what is Spirit trying to tell us with this event? A lot of people had their eyes opened with the George Floyd case. Whether you support the police or think the police overstepped their bounds, generally speaking, we as a society give police the benefit of the doubt. But in that case, there was no benefit of the doubt to give. They flat out murdered that guy. And in this case, these deputies are being charged with murder by the district attorney in that area. So from what I understand, and I did read a little bit about it, the video on it is horrific. There's really not going to be much of an excuse. But I'll repeat this reading. I expect I'll get similar answers. I've done this before where I've had to do repeat readings, and it's amazing how good Spirit is at giving me cards that give me the same answer. Sometimes give me a little more enlightenment. So what is Spirit trying to teach us? What is it? What's the message with this? Why are we going through this again? Okay. Temperance. It's about relationships. It's about it's our relationships with people in this country. Relationships amongst ourselves. Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor, whether you're law-abiding or maybe law-bending, liberal, a progressive or an ultra-conservative. We all live in this society together. We all need to get along. We need to understand each other and understand what's going on and support each other. And it's crossed with the Hermit card. So this is about revealing the underbelly, the not so good parts of our society. And it's up to us to fix this. We can't let the status quo be the status quo. It's not going to fix itself. We've given the status quo a chance to fix itself for decades. Nothing's happened, and nothing will happen unless we make it happen. So that's kind of the general gist of it. In the past, we had the King of Pentacles. You can think, oh, of course. Okay, so back in, I'm going to actually use the same story I used last night. Back in high school, I had a government teacher very cynically state that the United States had the best legal system money could buy. I'm 17 years old. I thought it was a bit cynical. Unfortunately, as I've gone through the years, he was right. I didn't want to believe that. It didn't seem right. No, we're America. Yeah, we got the best country in the world. But at the end of the day, there are two kind of justice systems. One for the very wealthy and the other one for everybody else. And in the past, it's really catered itself to the wealthy and the powerful. In this case, you can also think of the police as being powerful. They're kind of above the law, kind of like very wealthy people are. So that's the past. We need to move past that past into the present and now into the future. The present is the celebration. Now, I'm not saying we should celebrate. I don't think this is celebrating the death of this mentally ill man. That's not the celebration that's happening here. It's more the coming together and making that pledge that we are going to support each other. This isn't, it's the young and the old. This is the left and the right. This is the poor and the middle class and the upper middle class banding together to say, this isn't right. We need to band together. We need to help out those who are the most vulnerable to abuse in this country. And overall is the government. It's the government agencies. It's what runs society. I know there's a lot of outrage about wokeness and political correctness. It's all this demeaning for which is simply holding people accountable and trying to, again, represent and help people out who are the most vulnerable in our society. So overall, we need to change the way we do things. Whether, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? The phrase I'm looking for? Institutionalized racism, that sort of thing. I'm not saying white people are racist, but the laws are written in such a way that when the whites are in charge, it keeps them in charge. It gives them an advantage. It gives them a leg up. It's not a level playing field. And we need to change that. We need to make it a level playing field, not only for people of different melanin content in their skin, different races, different ethnicities, different genders, but also different socioeconomic levels. Lesson to be learned is strength. It's not going to be an easy battle. It's going to be a long battle. It won't be won overnight. It's a marathon. And you've got to be strong. But you got to get out there and you've got to do your part. And your part can be many ways. Sometimes your part might be prayers. But if there's a protest and you've got the ability to go to a protest, go to a protest. If you want to write to your local congressman or your state assembly or your governor or a political entity, go do that. If you have any sway or you want to make sure that your local police department or your local district attorney hears your voice, that you don't agree with what happened there and you don't want it happening in your neighborhood. It's that sort of thing. The outcome is the Nine of Swords. This has been a nightmare in this country for a long time for certain people, for certain populations. Some of us are just waking up, getting woke. Others have been living this stress for as long as they can remember, generations. And it's time to put a stop to it. It just is. And, it's the world. It takes a village to raise a child. This is the world. This is everything that's going on in the country. It's going to come full circle. And, when we start cleaning up and making things more equal in our neighborhood, in our city, in our county, in our state, and in the U.S., we've got to keep going beyond that. This is a worldwide problem that we have to face. Okay, so again, this is actually somewhat similar to what last night's reading was. Last night's reading pretty much was saying the same thing. We got to stick together. It's going to be a long fight. We'll get through this, and we'll be much better for this on the other side. I'm going to do a couple more readings here. And one of the things that I want to find out is, what is the collective mindset of the 10 people that were arrested for this murder? I believe it was 3 hospital workers and 7 law enforcement deputies. Where are they right now, mindset-wise, with all this? Do they think they did anything wrong? Do they maybe realize now they did something wrong? I'm just curious, where are they in their mind with this situation? So let's find that out. And this isn't any victim blaming or anything like that. It just is just a really honest question. Why? What makes you? Why was this? King of Cups. I think of this as reverse, because this is not a high energy thing. This is kind of a low energy thing. This is about emotional maturity, and in this case, it's probably about emotional immaturity, or they lost control of their emotions. For however long it took for this to happen, somebody lost it, and then it just piled on. They're now they're sort of sitting back and reflecting, taking a lower profile while this thing goes on. Strong emotional component of this. There could be regret with this. There could be anger with this. But again, we've got that strong emotional component. And probably some of them would really like to speak out, but their lawyers are telling them, don't you dare. And again, Page of Cups, more cups. Again, there's a lot of the people in this are young, and they may not have been, as emotionally strong as they needed to be. And underneath is the King of Swords. Just a harsh decision that they made. I guess they felt like they needed to do this. This man was having an emotional breakdown, and they did what they thought they needed to do. And they killed him in the process. One other thing I do want to throw out there, is that, the victim in this case had mental health issues. And I'm not blaming the victim for mental health issues, but I want to point out the irony that police officers, emergency personnel, and I've got friends who are not police officers but do work as first responders. They suffer from PTSD or some version of that. You're first on the scene and you're seeing body parts everywhere. Could be a child, it could be a young person, it could be an old person, families, and they see a lot, and it's emotionally stressful on them. What kind of help do they get? Are they offered help? Do they take that help? Is it encouraged that they take that help? Because I can certainly see a bend of machismo in these fields where if you somehow admit that you need some emotional support or some emotional help from a psychiatrist or a social worker or something like that, they probably think you're weak, not manning up like everybody else. So I think one of the things when we look at this problem and try and resolve this issue in the long term is the mental health services available not only for people in this world, but for the peace officers and the first responders as well, to give them the tools to cope. And maybe we have to limit the hours that they're on the job so that they have the ability to decompress from what they've seen, as well as get mental health services on that. And probably there needs to be more evaluation of the mental health of our peace officers to make sure that they are in a good space. And if they're not, you take them off the line and put them on a job that allows them to psychologically recover from the trauma that they've been suffering. What about the family? What's the family thinking right now? Where's the family at? Okay. Empress. They are. They're looking at the family is looking at the family as a whole, and trying to take care of everything that's going on. In some ways, they're representing their lost son, their lost brother, their lost nephew, their lost grandson. They're coming together, and maybe something good will grow out of this tragedy. They're fighting they're fighting. They're going to fight the good fight. They have the advantage. They have the surveillance footage. They have the prosecutor's office on their side. They're not going to lose this case, but this thing is bigger than that case, and they definitely want people to know about what happened. Queen of Swords. They're going to make, their decisions may seem ruthless, but at the same time, the police officers had the King of Swords, so they're the Queen of Swords. Yeah, the sword cuts both ways. You react in a way that killed our son, murdered our son. We are going to hold you accountable. You weren't right on that, especially if they're not right. If they're not right, you're being held accountable. Sorry, I know. I'm sorry that you had, maybe mental anguish or mental health issues going on. You weren't in your right mind when you were doing that, but he wasn't in his right mind either. So how is it any different? The irony is there. And the Seven of Swords, I think they're concerned that, because there's 7 swords and there were 7 police officers. Maybe 5 of them trying, and maybe they'll hold only 2 of them to account. Or they're concerned that they're not going to get all the police officers. They want all the police officers. Everybody should be held to account. And maybe they're concerned that most of them are going to get off, or get off lighter. Maybe they'll have a couple of sacrificial lambs, but they're concerned that the police are going to get away with it, and they don't want that to happen. They're going to make sure it doesn't happen, because underneath it, they've got the sword of truth. They're right, and they know they're right, and they've got the proof that they're right, and nobody should get off on this one. Nobody should be sneaking off and getting a light sentence or getting their case dismissed. Okay, last throw on this one. And this is with regards to Irvo himself, and that's, what message does he have for us with regards to this? So the spirits told us about the situation. We've kind of got a quick vibe on the people accused of the murder, Irvo's family. What about Irvo himself? What is his message for us out of this? I'm curious to find out what that is. I hope you are too. Irvo, what's your message for it? These cards are jumping. Okay, we're gonna grab that one. Okay, his message for us is the Ten of Pentacles. This is, I don't think this is necessarily about intergenerational wealth per se, but I think this is about society and legacy. In some ways, this is going to be his legacy, much like George Floyd's murder is going to be George Floyd's legacy, and it's going to be his legacy for generations to come. This man's murder is in that same vein. It's to wake people up, make those changes, and these changes should be long-lasting. We've got to walk away. He's gone, but not forgotten. In order for this to change, he lost his life in order for this change to come. But this change should be coming. Decisions need to be made. They're not easy decisions. Some decisions seem easy, but they're not easy to make. But we're at a crossroads. We can keep doing things the same way we've been doing before, or we can make a change and try and make things better. Because we can't chain ourselves to the way we've done things in the past. It doesn't work. What we've been doing doesn't work. You're going to have to walk away from the way that you've always been doing. You've got to unchain yourself and get away from that destructive behavior. And then, underneath it all is, we as a society need to evaluate what we value, and we need to evaluate something that's not working. And if it's not working, or it's not providing value, it's up to us to change it in any way that we can. Some of us can make big changes, some of us can make small changes, but anything you can do to help make the change is what's required. It's something that I deal with on occasion. I feel like if I can't single-handedly change it myself, I get all stressed out, and I have to get myself in the mindset is that sometimes it's not my job to fix it. Sometimes it's just my job to help others fix it. So, okay, so that's my reading on the Irvo Otieno murder. I hope you found it insightful, and that if there's anything you can do to help make this society better, safer for everybody in it, that would be really appreciated. Have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.